Well, welcome to Political Voice. I'm Moses Humphrey. It's Tuesday already, but this week is one week that arguably could become the mother of all other weeks in the country this year. Well, many have looked forward to it, prayed for it, discussed it, and wished that things will go their way within it. Unfortunately, we have no crystal ball to tell tomorrow today, but many could become sleepless tonight because in less than 24 hours, the Presidential Election Petitions Court will make known its judgment. But for now, the Court of Appeal headquarters has said the Presidential Tribunal judgment on the petitions before it would be aired live. Now, the court said this was to promote transparency and openness and for Nigerians to watch. Now, the Chief Registrar, Court of Appeal Headquarters, Umaru Bangari, stated this yesterday while disclosing the date for the judgment on the matter. And he said that the date for the judgment had been fixed for September 6th, which is tomorrow, 2023. He also said only accredited persons, including counsels and representatives of political parties, would be granted access to the courtroom on Judgment Day. All right? And he said any television station that wants to air it can get accreditation and have access to the courtroom. And anyone that wants to air it can air it. Oh, well, that is one of the conversations we'll be having within the next 1 hour on Political Voice. I have my guest with me in the studio. He's a social affairs commentator and an author. He has written several articles, several editorials, and a book. Am I correct? A book. Well, he's Tochukwu Izukam. Good to have you with us in the studio.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Now, we didn't get to watch the proceedings live. At the time, a lot of things were said as to why that could not be done. Now the proceedings are over. Nigerians were not able to follow the process. Why do you think there's a need for some sort of openness or clarity, as the clerk of the appeal court said? Why are we going to have a live broadcast now?
Well, I am not a lawyer and I do not pretend to have any expert knowledge on the law. But I agreed with the decision not to air the proceedings because the proceedings, the issue at stake is momentous. The election of a country, a big country, the giant of Africa, the oil-rich economy, and all that goes with it. But so, and in airing, in broadcasting or televising the proceedings, then the facts, the evidence will all be very important. But then posturing, image making, PR becomes equally important, if sometimes even more important. So for a serious matter like that, and for such a conservative institution as the Court of Appeal, it was good it was not televised. So now the deed is done, the job is done. You're just trying to read a verdict. So there's nothing spectacular about that. So one conservative judge with all their robe, paraphernalia of their office will just sit down and read. That's fine.
And you don't think you'll still have the issue of image making?
Wouldn't
the judge want to look a certain way?
But you're looking for a certain way for 1 hour, 2 hours. There's nothing much to it. And the verdict had been reached already. So people are just looking at what is he out there to say. The thing is that there's no law in the Constitution for it or against it. So it just depends on the, it's a prerogative of the judge or judges to decide. So if they say, we're going to broadcast it, televise it, it's in line with the law. And if they say we are not televising it, it's in line with the law. So since they've chosen to televise this aspect of the whole process of proceeding, it's all fine with me. It doesn't strike me dramatically either way or the other. I'm almost indifferent to the televising. The important thing is
So
justice.
you really don't think it's going to change anything?
No, no, no. It's all written. It's all preconceived. It's all laid out. It's all thought out, prearranged, packaged, just to be delivered. You know. So the thing is justice. If justice will prevail, that would be wonderful. But the posturing of the powers that be is well. People can read too many meanings into their mannerism, body language, their posturing. Many Nigerians are skeptical. Many Nigerians are questioning if we're going to see justice done.
Okay, now we are not trying to preempt the courts here, of course, but by your observation, how would you rate the interest of Nigerians in this entire process from the elections up until now? You know, the Court of Appeal, and now that the judgment is about to be read out.
Well, Nigerians are interested. I mean, Nigerians are fixated on the whole process. More than ever, Nigerians are becoming politically savvy, politically reawakened, and politically conscious. So people are, I guess it's bad governance that started prodding us or nudging us into paying attention to our politics. So it's not like in the past, oh, Nadem Sabi, I'm not tired, I don't want to, my vote will not count. But people are agitated, people are hungry, people are poor. And in that case, we have no choice but to look at those that are governing us, either to approve of them or to disapprove of them and possibly remove them. We want a change, a fundamental shift, a paradigm shift. We're tired of what we're used to because it's the same oligarchy that has ruled Nigeria. Even you can say since independence, but you can more accurately say since 1979, Second Republic. It's the same group of human beings that have been there, one form or the other. So I think we need a paradigm shift. And the problems of Nigeria are obvious. One is greed, one is corruption, and a number of other factors. But it's lawlessness that found its most profound or vivid expression in corruption. That's the problem of Nigeria. So Nigerians are beginning to look for leaders that are not corrupt. Since the bane of our leaders is corruption, can we find a leader that is, nobody's squeaky clean, you can't be squeaky clean and survive in politics. But that man that is not exceptionally clean, but at least that we can vouch for his financial honesty, his incorruptibility, because it's corruption and financial dishonesty that has kept us here. So we're going to look for something. So Nigerians are interested in ordinary, not in ordinary. Nigerians are very concerned about what is going on and what the verdict of this election will be.
In light of that, you did say corruption as being the bane of the problem in Nigeria. And at the start of this tribunal, there were talks about the possibility of the judges being influenced. Now, we had that talk on social media. Now, how would you say that affected the outcome of this verdict? Did the cry by Nigerians in any way, do you think it made them sit up, or did it prevent possible influence from the political class from influencing the judgment? Did it in any way have any impact, really?
The political class remains the political class. Our judges remain our judges. The mindset of the powers that be remain the same. So the outcries are wonderful. But if these outcries are not followed with some kind of ability to influence the situation. It's most of the times it does not make a difference because these are entrenched interest groups. These are interest groups that have that have interest to protect, and they will go the extra mile to do it. So unless there is something, threat, show of force, or even nuisance value that will stop this, it may not make a difference. There's no evidence that the judges have not been compromised. And
I didn't get that.
there is no evidence that
Okay.
they have not been compromised. Just there's no evidence that they have been compromised.
Okay.
And so we're all speculating. Nobody has there was an issue of the Chief Justice trying to hold a secret meeting with the present president. And so on. There's been other accusations, but nobody has really brought out any concrete evidence to say that this is what happened. But our judges in the past have proven that they are sometimes not above board, that sometimes they can be compromised, and sometimes they emphasize order
Give us an example.
over
Okay.
justice.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I would like
Yes.
for you to give me an example of times where the judges have exhibited some sort of compromise.
The man Lawan is in the Senate. He did not contest. He didn't go through the nomination process. And the Constitution says you have to go through the nomination process to be elected, well, to stand for an election. He didn't do that because he wanted to run for the presidency and could not be trying to get nominated for the presidency and at the same time for the Senate. So the man that was nominated for the Senate and is not in the Senate. Is the man that didn't go through the process. A judge ruled in favor of Lawan against the Constitution. The man that is the president of the Senate, also in Akwa Ibom, Akpabio from Akwa Ibom, had similar issues, but they are all in the Senate. So our judges have shown time and time again that the Ibori was cleared by a judge in Nigeria. We found nothing against him. But
Isn't that due to the evidence presented before the judge?
Judge, that's what they tell us, but sometimes judges consider other things more than the evidence. And judges are very conservative people. They are very sensitive to social factors, political factors. So evidence presented before you might be wonderful, but there might be other intangible or less palpable evidence that might weigh more against the palpable evidence provided before you. So, and there's been many of such cases. And you talk to lawyers will say, well, Nigeria is a corrupt country. What do you expect the lawyers to do? They are part of the system, so invariably they have to be corrupt. But when you're treated like the other Nigerians, you say, well, the post of a judge should be inviolable. They are sacrosanct. You can't enter their houses even with the right arrest, even with arrest warrants. Yeah, legitimate arrest warrant, and arrest them and search their houses. So on the one hand, you're corrupt like other Nigerians. On the one hand, you want to be treated as though you are impeccable, impeachable. So that's where the problem is. So our judges have disappointed us in the past, yes. Yes.
Now, you did social factors. Social factors that judges at different times might have to consider, maybe not to create anarchy. In this particular instance now, what would you say would be, if you were to give an example of certain social factors that might influence this judgment? We are not preempting the courts. We are just stating, you know.
You're not preempting the court, but it seems like that's what you want me to do.
Of course not. I would not want you to do that.
Countries evolve. At a point, the Germans placed more premium on societal order than justice. So we know it's unjust, but in the interest of order, we rule against justice. So societies have to do certain things at certain point to progress for the good of the people. Because finally, you see that democracy in theory would not correspond to democracy in practice. England, Britain is a monarchy, and at the same time a democracy. Is not monarchy antithetical to democracy? So why blend the two? But it fits their circumstance, their history, their tradition, their culture. So certain countries will do things that are not exceptionally, not exceptionally desirable, but for the public good. The problem in Nigeria is that the powers that be are not motivated by the public good. So they breach the law, twist things around to serve personal interests. But if it's all done for the good of the country, for the progress of the country, then it's all fine. Social considerations, political considerations must definitely weigh in on such a verdict like the one we're expecting tomorrow. Your question is, how will it weigh in? What is your question? Remind me, please.
you found a way to evade. No, it's fine. I don't want you to preempt the court. And of course we can't do that on this platform. So yes, that's brilliantly done. It's fine. So
it makes me feel good. You answered brilliant.
It was brilliantly done.
Okay.
Now let's look at the. There was something that trended. We Nigerians. There was a clamor against it at some point. Billboards that came up with the tag "All Eyes on the Judiciary." That was up for a while, and then there was a clamor against it as to how that would impact on the judiciary, and some heads did roll. All right, from the Advertising Council. Now the judiciary wants eyes to be on it, as it is. Literally speaking, now the judiciary is saying, "Okay, look at us. Now we want to give the verdict. So keep your eyes on us." What changed?
Well, it's important to note that it wasn't the judiciary that reacted negatively to the all eyes on the judiciary. The judiciary supposedly is a neutral entity. All eyes must inevitably be on the judiciary, because what is at stake is momentous. You're talking about governance of a country, the presidency of a country, you're talking about the man you bestow, you entrust the future of the country for the next 4 years. You're talking about somebody who personifies the powers of the government, somebody who's the repository of the powers, influence of the government. So you can't escape everybody being concerned, everybody watching the judiciary. The present government is not comfortable. The present government is hypersensitive because of the way it came to power and because of people's discomfort. People are not comfortable with this government. The electoral hoax that brought this government in power rattles, makes them overly sensitive. So all eyes are on the judiciary, being on the billboard. It's not something that could have discomfited anyone except for the prickliness.
So why was there an uproar?
Yeah, because I say the government government is unsettled. The government is not at peace with itself. History has shown that, the experts, investigators of fire, when they say fire, watch out for those ardent firefighters, those that overcompensate in fighting the fire. arsonists are the most postured to be the most ardent firefighters because they are unsettled. They are trying to recompense for something, their guilt. Okay? So people fight the fire, but that man that wants to carry it on his head, investigators will be noting them. You see, that's how they start their investigation. So things that wouldn't have mattered to a government matters to this government because they are unsettled, they are not at peace, they are trying to recompensate for so much. If you come to power under this circumstance, the hype with the coup in Niger was because there was a civilian coup in Nigeria, and you want to dramatize your opposition to coups because you're a coupist yourself. On the streets of this on the street, most people that beat up thieves and put
Tires around the neck.
upon them have the instinct to steal or are thieves. So that's what they're fighting, that they are guilty. They are guilty, so they are compensating for the guilt. So this administration is compensating for its guilt and pays attention to things that would have been neglected or things that are insignificant. Eyes are on the judiciary, understandably. Why bother about it? Why fire people? Why remove it? And those who didn't notice it, because that was what really gave it some resonance.
Publicity.
Publicity. Before I didn't pay attention, I didn't notice it, but when it was removed and people fired, the man at the advertisement company, what they call him, ARCON. Arcon. To man that Arcon, this is normal. But to this government, it was too unsettling, so they overreacted. So, but eyes are on the judiciary inevitably. Yes.
Now we've had this sort of court sittings throughout the Fourth Republic. How does this one sit within the balance?
We've had court sit.
Yes.
Yeah, for the second time or third time.
Fourth Republic.
Yeah, that is it sat in the case against Yaradua, and then in
Against
Atiku's case against
Buhari.
Buhari, and then this time around. Well, in the past, Nigerians were not that interested in their politics, and secondly, in the past, it was a case of pot calling kettle black. Atiku is as corrupt as whoever is trying to make a case against.
Do you have an evidence in that regard?
We are back to our secondary information.
Yes, here we are. I was trying to avoid stepping on that. I was hoping to avoid that.
Obasanjo went to town talking about Atiku and his corruption. That Atiku being a president is like hearing that you're an armed robber, is now your bank manager. So based on secondary information, Atiku, Atiku is corrupt. And Atiku as vice president working with Obasanjo, they all rigged the election. Obasanjo was not remorseful about his electoral fraud, because he said that even Jesus Christ cannot hold a credible election in Nigeria, meaning that the elections are fraudulent, but I have no regrets for it, because nobody can really hold a credible election.
All right, then we'll hold the rest of the thoughts and questions. So we'll go on a very quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with this conversation. All right, welcome back. It's still Political Voice, and we're speaking with Tochukwu Ezukama. Now, the DSS said that some persons were trying to turn things up, mobilize the youth, organize violent protests. Now, what do you make of that statement, first of all? And they also said that these people, some of them are politicians. What do you make of the statement?
The DSS, if I understand them, it will be something like the American equivalent of American FBI. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Federal Bureau of Investigation. And I think they are also into state security. So it should be a very responsible organization, and their statements should be momentous. That is, if they are for real. But sometimes they are used for as a tool of someone's personal will, the personal will of someone in power. Sometimes they abuse their office. You see a governor's wife walking, going somewhere, and you see 5 to 10 DSS men following her. What is that for? How does the outing of a governor's wife affect state security? A policeman can handle that. Even when I was a kid, when the first military coup came, and Ojukwu became the governor of Eastern Region, as he moved around as governor, you saw him with 1 or 2 or 3 policemen. In those days, they carried Mark IV. This is their long cock and gear. But these days, the governor is walking by 20 DSS officials. What are they doing with the governor? It is not necessary. A policeman can provide security for the governor. So it's just that there's been abuse of everything in Nigeria. So institutions lose their credibility. Every institution is dysfunctional in Nigeria. So when a dysfunctional institution like DSS makes such assertions, you don't take them seriously. Ordinarily, you should. But because they've been reduced to the tool of personal wills of some individuals, they may be saying it for effect. They may be saying it to prepare the grounds for arrest. They may be saying it to intimidate the people. You don't really know, because it's dysfunctional, because it has lost its credibility.
Why will the DSS want to intimidate the people?
Don't they intimidate the people? SACS, for example, was a police unit set up to fight crime, but it turned around, okay, because every element of freedom or authority comes with a responsibility. In Nigeria, every atom of authority provides people opportunity to abuse the system, abuse the individuals. So it's about authority and responsibility. But in Nigeria, it's about authority and abuse of authority. So a boxer, for example, is trained to fight. So you don't go on the street beating up people, because the average man lacks your kind of training. And you can punch him in the wrong place and knock him out and even get him unconscious and even dead. Therefore, because of that special training you have, it gives you added responsibility to be civil, law-abiding. But that's not the case in Nigeria. So I don't know what they have in mind, but they might be preparing the grounds to move against innocent people. Like during the NSACS protests, yes. DSS agents were planting people in the movement to discredit the movement, planting thugs to bring in violence into the movement. Ultimately, no violence came.
Secondary for
I saw TV footages. No, I saw TV. Well, everything on TV is secondary. I didn't televise it. I wasn't on the spot, so it's secondary information. You can't escape secondary information. All we get is secondary information, and that determines our information, shapes our mind. Shapes sometimes our values. So DSS has been used for dirty jobs in Nigeria. So as a result of that, we don't have much faith in the DSS. But ordinarily, what they say should have been very respectful.
Troubling.
Very troubling, yeah. But and they tried that with the NSAS, and when it did not work, when their game did not work with the NSAS protesters were attacked. It was subsequently after the attack that people went on a rampage. So I don't know what to expect from their statement. Ordinarily, should
Okay.
something,
Now,
but maybe
Now let's look at this. Let's veer off a little bit. NLC has called for protest, for strike rather, and, which is to hold, which supposedly is holding. I mean, I've not been out there, but I believe the strike is ongoing right now, today and tomorrow. Today and tomorrow. Emphasis on that. Now the court verdict comes up tomorrow, 6th. Are you not troubled that if the verdict doesn't go the way some people want it to go, what the DSS is saying might actually play out? There might be a breakdown of law and order. There might be protest, which might result in some violence. Are you not troubled as to the fact that this is how, because, well, are you not troubled as to this?
I am deeply disturbed. I am worried about the timing of the strike or protest and the court verdict. It's a dangerous combination. People are agitated, people are going on strike. And that's at the same time you're coming to declare a verdict that has held. People have been expecting this verdict for a long time. People are on tenterhooks, people are in suspense. People are gingered up. Tension is very high. So to combine the two can be explosive. But the question is that the labor union set their date much earlier.
Sometime
Why are
last
the
week,
judges, with these very supposedly very conservative individuals, setting their date to correspond with when the labor is also on strike? Because the judges at some point said September 15th, then September 16th, now it's September 6th.
Knowing that
The labor is striking.
on
So
that day.
it leaves me disturbed, and it makes me, there's this trust deficit between Nigerians and their leaders. It makes me very suspicious of that timing.
You think the shift in date by the court could be to achieve a purpose?
There's no evidence to that, but you won't be wrong if you suspect so, because it's the wrong time to read. You could have waited for labor. It's 2 days warning strike.
Warning strike, yes.
You could have waited for labor to finish their strike and then fix your date. I don't know, but I'm disturbed about the time and the two coming together, putting the two pivotal events at the same time.
In that regard, then maybe what the DSS is, the intelligence they say they are privy to, might actually be something to be troubled about. Don't you think so?
But the politicians who are supposedly trying to incite the youth are not the ones in power. They are not the ones. They have no influence on the judiciary. They are not the one. They are opposition. So it is not the opposition that the opposition has nothing to do with the timing of the verdict. So I don't think Labour has proven itself quite disciplined. Obi is a man.
Labour Party, you mean?
The Labour Party, I mean, not the Labour
Congress.
Congress, yeah. Obi is very painstaking. Obi is very careful, very deliberate, and he believes in the process, the judicial process. In Anambra, it took him a very, very long time to deal with the first case where it was rigged out, and he was also impeached and then thrown out again. So he's gone to court 3 times, and each time he was reinstated because of his deliberateness, his painstakingness. So Obi is not somebody that will encourage violence. There was this case in Zimbabwe, not this election, the previous election, the leader of the opposition encouraged violence, and a lot of people died. We've been, and interestingly, the opposition in Nigeria has repeatedly gone to court. They've not encouraged their supporters to take to the street, to take to rioting, to take to breaking the law. That is very good. So I don't think any of the opposition leaders, most of them are very mature, disciplined, and deliberate individuals. I will encourage their supporters to become lawless and start looting and rioting. But there might be a spontaneous reaction on the part of the youth because people are very angry. People are very disturbed. People feel shortchanged. People are tired of the social injustice, tired of the economic hardship, tired of the class distinction, the economic imbalance, inequality, inequity. So there might be a spontaneous reaction following the court verdict, depending on the way it goes.
All right then. We do have two topics, so let's quickly delve into the other one. Well, the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has sent another list of commissioner nominees to the State House of Assembly. Now, this was disclosed on Monday by the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa. The immediate past Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, who was among the 17 nominees rejected by the House, made the new list. Obasa stated in a tweet that the ad hoc committee, headed by Chief Whip Fatai Mojid, will also screen the new batch of nominees. Now, a few weeks back, the House had confirmed 22 and rejected 17 out of the 39 nominees Sanwo-Olu sent to the House. The rejection of the 17 nominees by the House had raised dust among politicians and residents of the state. Now, I'm going to come to you now. It is inconceivable, I beg your pardon, to think of such a political squabble in Lagos. One party, I mean, it's been, the APC has been in power in Lagos for the longest time. And those in the House of Assembly in Lagos, the State House of Assembly, are, the same party. So why do you think we're having this squabble?
Not even just the same party, the same individuals. Some of them have been coming and going for 2, 3, 4, 5 terms, as the case may be. Well, the father of Lagos State, the godfather of Lagos State, the Babake,
who is also from Lagos.
From Lagos, who wields the stick, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who successfully reduced the governors to his errand boys. He's like their Baba. It's a simple fact. You have to perform in line with his dictates or you'll be removed. It has been the trend. So we can't pretend about that. So he's out of town, he's in Abuja, and he's very busy. He has his hands full. So then autonomous centers of power started propping up. So I think it's the power struggle between different autonomous centers of the power, because the overall Baba who wave the wang and everything falls in place is out of town. But that's democracy. Though there are many theories, some believe that that dictatorial approach sometimes works and keep things in order. But it's not working. Baba is not around, so no dictator is in town. So Sanwo-Olu is beginning to haggle with other very powerful political interests in the state. So to your question, is Baba's absence that is causing
it's an interesting perspective to think about it. So does that now indicate that, I mean, if this is the case, does it now indicate that if Baba, in quotes now, leaves power, it might affect the party that he helped build talking about the APC now? I'm just, deviating a little bit.
Yes, because in Nigeria we have strong individuals, not strong institutions. Across Africa, that's what we have. And so when you remove the individual, the rallying point, of course, things, center does not hold, things fall apart. Things may fall apart, yes. In the Second Republic, you had Baba Awo, who held UPN in check, okay? And if Awo had left power, then of course there might have been some falling apart if things were not handled right. So, yes, the powerful individuals, when they exit power, yeah, things may fall apart. Because some people are just loyal to the powerful Baba. And
Why?
when that, say why?
No. I mean, while the person is still in,
While the Baba is
still
around.
wields the the power.
The influence, yeah, the control, yes. So when the Baba is out, there might be a lot of people open up their heads. I am the right Baba now. You can't control me. Who are you? I came to the party before you. Is it because the Baba made you this and not me? It should have been me and not you. I don't agree with you. So the squabble starts naturally.
Okay, now, is that if that is the case? But what is happening in Lagos, where some names were rejected, and some of these names were, big names. Big names indeed. Yes.
Baba's boys.
Indeed. Is this good for democracy?
Wonderful
And
for
how?
democracy. If democracy is about free speech, about independent mindedness, about having your own opinion, then of course it's good for democracy. So now you have contending views. The thing with contending views is that from contending views you sift out the best. But what if it's one man show? Then it's limited to one man's knowledge, one man's wisdom, one man's perception. But when it's 100 different men's view, perception, wisdom, then you can kind of get the cream of 100 men. You can kind of sift out the best from 100 men. So it's always good, yes. Differences in opinion, diversity of opinion, argument, disagreement, and finally, consensus.
Now, let's look at the names now. Two of them are, a lot of them are big names, but two are really prominent names. They are what you would call Sanwo-Olu's men, Gbenga Omotosho for information, and Akin Abayomi for health. These names were rejected initially, but here we are again with new names, added to them. What would you say changed?
Nothing changed. I think the politicians were rejecting the technocrats. One man called them overhyped technocrats. They are not politicians. They have no political base and don't play politics, don't contribute in the victory, electoral victory of the party, but have been there because supposedly they are knowledgeable, they can make contributions in their specific fields. The politicians in the House do not want that, because without that victory in the first place, without the electioneering and the party victory, there will be no slot, no position for you as commissioner. So it's those that are politically involved, those that have political power base, they want in there. That's one reason. Some of them, I read that they studied their passports. And noticed that some of them were even out of the country during the presidential and gubernatorial elections. So they didn't get involved.
So they didn't work for the party.
They didn't work for the victory of the party. Therefore, you cannot partake in the goodies of the victory. That's one aspect. Then you have the religious aspect. Too many Christians and not enough Muslims. You have the indigenship.
I understand.
With my Ajegunle English. Have
Indigenship.
Indigenship, yes. And then you have those who felt that the governor did not consult them enough, those who wanted to use the approval of the nominees for deals. Governor, okay, we'll approve them, but you have to talk to us. You have to do this for us, do that. And then some local government officials who felt they were not consulted. These guys live in my local government area, but I wasn't consulted. Therefore, I'm not for it. So it's just that there's no central controlling authority. So everybody's coming up with his own interest. That's what it is, interest or opinion.
All right, now going forward, do you think this would impact in how they perform if finally approved? Everyone now, not just the names I mentioned, every other person that was either approved initially or rejected and later resubmitted.
Their performance will depend on primarily the governor. What do you expect from your men? What do you want to achieve? The leader has the vision. The leader has the direction. The leader has the agenda. The leader has the courage. So when you combine all those things and channel it into a given area, something happens, change comes. You move people from point A to point B. But if the leader wants to move people from, if the leader doesn't want to move people anywhere, then nothing happens. If you want to accelerate it point A to point C, that's what happens, or that's what you attempt to achieve. If you want point A to point B, so it depends on the leadership. The commissioners are answerable to the governor and can only do as much as the governor wants them to do. I was in a bus from Enugu to Oka, and I was talking to the Department of Finance, Ministry of Finance, Anambra State. Say, I live in Enugu, but I work in Oka. Enugu was the capital of Anambra before, when it encompassed Enugu and present Anambra. So when the new capital came to Oka, some bureaucrats, civil servants remained in Enugu and be going to Oka. And he was telling me about what is happening in their ministry. Commissioners just come and write, demand money, and you're trying to say, what is this for? He says, shut up, don't say what, just give me the money. And he said, we have no choice but to do that. I said, was it happening during Obi's time? He said, no, Obi was a good governor. Obi was a decent man. It started happening under Mbadinuju. No, under Obiano, and it has continued. So it's about the governor. The governor was transparent. The governor was financially honest. Therefore, the commissioners cannot just demand money and get money without explaining what it is for. There was accountability. But when the new governor came and it was free for all, have as much fun as you can, make as much money as you can, enjoy yourself, this is our time. It reflected in the behavior of the commissioners. So it all starts with the governor and ends with the governor. It's all about leadership. So their performance, to answer your question, I don't know. But the man out of the house, Obasa, that's his name. Obasa already is talking about is politics first and your technocracy second. You must do the politics, secure the victory of the party, entrench the party, and every other thing comes. So if it's politics first, not professionalism first, that might not augur too well because the bureaucrats are being thrown out because they didn't play politics, not because they didn't perform, okay? So, but finally it's the governor that decides.
All right, and at this point, this will be a good place to drop it on the show today. But before we do, final thoughts. I always like to get your final thoughts, just in case there's something you want to put out there. First and second topics.
Yeah, the election verdict, the presidential election verdict that is coming tomorrow is wonderful, and it will bring to rest. Nigerians have been in suspense for too long, so it brings an end to the tenterhooks, and we're settled. My opinion is that irrespective
there will be an appeal.
Yeah, they can appeal, yes. Irrespective of the verdict, who is favored or who is disfavored, Nigerians should remain calm. because it's a process. On the short run, it might seem as though everything is falling apart, but with time, we will all get it right. So, of course, whoever loses will appeal, but I'm opposed to violent protest for whatever reason. Just accept it. It might be just, or seemingly, because we are not lawyers, we are not judges. It might seemingly be just, it might seemingly be unjust, but Nigerians should accept it. In Lagos State, let them put the interest of the masses, of the people, the downtrodden, the suffering, the economically strangulated masses, for long disparaged, for long kicked around. Fela said, he go be slave for him land to make ends meet. These people that are reduced to slavery in their own land to make ends meet. Let them let the powers that be put their interest first, and then every other thing second, so that Nigerians will, as the latest balance in time is, so that the poor can breathe. So that the poor can breathe. Enough of this injustice, inequities. So let them consider the masses in all their politicking and in all their technocracy. The bottom line is to serve the people.
And serve the people, that's what the people are also craving, that the judicial officers, those that they have, I beg your pardon, those that they have elected into offices, or those that have been nominated into offices, actually come out to serve, and serve the interest of the people. I must say a very big thank you to you.
You're welcome.
Tochukwu Ezukama, social affairs commentator and an author. Thank you for coming on the program today. Well, that's the size of the show today. I must say, on behalf of the team, I want to thank you for staying with us. I am Moses Humphrey. Bye for now.